Good afternoon once again, everyone. I will call the Town of Saltillo Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting to order for Tuesday, June 4, 2024 at 6 o'clock p.m. If you would please stand with me for invocation.
Lord, we love you tonight. We thank you again for another opportunity to represent our beautiful town. We ask that every decision be made according to your will. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for that. Appreciate you all coming out this evening and attending the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting this evening. So we'll get on down to business right quick here. Members of the Alderman, you have received your packet either in person or via email. And next item on our agenda is approval of minutes. You have those before you at this time. I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Alderman Maynard and motion by Alderman Reed. Any discussion? All in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. I want to come back to the minutes here shortly in another part of the mayor's report to just identify a couple of things that was mentioned at the previous meeting. Okay, old business, let me say public comments. We have one person assigned to public comments, and I believe it's Ms. Linda Ryan. If you'll present yourself. I see you did write Doe Road on the street.
Is that sufficient for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Well, anyways, hi, Linda and Doe. I just wanted to mention, because last time I was talking about the taxes, and I went to the budget meeting, and okay, I can see this, but when a year and a half ago, when we were put into the city limits, and we were having the Doe Road was just being destroyed, I asked, and because only half of the road is city limits, okay, you're not in charge. So I asked in email, and I said, well, then what's our extra money for? And it was for the fire department and the police department. And by the way, hiring that officer was probably the best use of our tax dollars yet. And the reason I'm saying this is because I understand that if we can have a grant that'll pay for the entire, a full-time sheriff. Is this true?
That's not correct. There are a bunch of different types of grants out there, but they're not wanting to pay for full-time.
Without going into a lot of detail, we bought some property on Allen Drive, and I was horrified at the crime. And how many times I had to call 911 of people holding people hostage and chasing them down the street with a baseball bat, getting the front door kicked in. I could go on. I was horrified. And this was in just a few months. So yeah, I knew that officer quite well. And the only reason it stopped, and the other thing was when we cleaned the property, if you go down there and you wonder why there's 5 floodlights, it's because they were cooking on that property. And I'm not me, I've been in property management long enough to know what I'm seeing. So there are floodlights all over the place. We found license plates, valids, different states, different counties, all valid. And it's all been turned over to the sheriff. He's, Officer Gilbert was actually the one that responded to the majority of the calls. So a full-time sheriff would be awesome, especially if we can get a grant for it. And then maybe our taxes should be reduced because, it should be used for infrastructure. Anyways, that was it.
Yeah, no. Okay, there are no others that have signed in, and we'll move right along. Old business, there is none at this time. So we'll move on to new business items. First of all, the recommendation to add the 24-25 budget line item to Hardin County Animal Rescue. I believe that was first brought to my attention by Alderman Wood. Would you like to speak to that?
Yes, I want to table that. I have talked with, the county mayor and also some people at the animal shelter. And I think we need to look at that a little bit more. When they had a problem before, the person the director there then was not the director now. We have a new director. But they would run out of money in February, so to say, as far as, so, in talking with them, they would say, well, we wanna come down there to pick up strays or drop-offs or whatever, we're just running so short on money. That's what kind of brought all this to, and people went in and made individual contributions to that. So, I wanna table that until I get more details, because I think that they have increased the funding of that, and it's under a different director. So, we need to, before we do anything with any of our money, we need to make sure that they're not in the same place that they were before.
Okay,
So,
all right.
if we can table that.
All right, business tabled. I try to remind to put that on another agenda as we move forward. And again, just for the members of the board, if you have an item of interest to be added to the agenda, make sure you give me a call and let's discuss it a little bit. We'll see if we can get it on the agenda, that kind of thing. If you have people calling you from the community that want, agendas discussion, we'll try to put some of those things on there. Go ahead.
It's probably, we probably maybe need to table it until, let's say, August, September, till we, have a better understanding of how
Okay.
things are working.
So we'll just say tabled indefinitely until.
Yeah, we bring it back up.
All right, we can bring it back to the
Right.
agenda, okay. Perfect. Alderman, if you'll let me get out of line or out of order in the, new business item, if you look down to the last item, recommendation for grant policy. If you look at that, you all have received this. Prior to this year, the town of Saltillo has had no policy guiding any kind of grants or anything like that. We did implement a purchasing policy not long ago, and so I'm working with MTask and our attorneys and others that present to you the town policy on grants, and I will tell you a couple of those. Really, the purpose is to encourage the best financial and compliance practices in obtaining, spending and recovery, reporting, and closing of grants. As we've said before, we encourage all the aldermen and fire department, police department to seek out grants. In our past administrations over the period of year, we've survived a lot of what we do on grants. And so I encourage the use of grants, especially ones that are 100% grants with no match. And so the thing that we've been a little bit lax on is knowing a lot about who's applying for what grant who they've already applied for. So if you look at item number 2, management and oversight, about the third sentence in there, just draw that to your attention. It says, grants through a resolution or contract must be approved by the board of mayor and aldermen before application, for and use of. Really important statement, because I think the board needs to have a little bit more understanding of what we are doing, and the board may determine, based on any kind of strategic plan that we may have, that a grant may not fit within our plan. And we might not want that grant for, tiddlywinks or whatever, So that's the kind of thing we need to keep in mind. Also, if you look at the number 5, reporting and system access, some grants are federal, some are state, some are other agencies, or let's say Blue Cross Blue Shield grants, that if you're not completing these grants, the paperwork and doing all the things you're supposed to do, that it creates some other issues. So it helps us as the administrative body, the executive body, to help make sure those grants are administered completely and correctly. So I present to you, I know you've looked at it, I present to you this policy, and I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion that we approve it. I mean, I think that we gotta be able to,
Okay.
I think isn't the state this is part of, they want us to have this also?
Yeah, we can
Is that
pull
right?
that, we can pull that back in discussion, but
Yeah.
a motion by Alderman Maynard,
I second.
second by Alderman Reeves for discussion. Though Alderman Maynard, you were speaking, if
Yeah.
you wanna bring that back.
This is a requirement from the state now, right? Is that correct?
It's not a requirement, it's a recommendation
Recommendation.
from MTask and some other things that typically go on with municipalities. Most of them are larger municipalities than us that have this policy, but it's highly recommended by our auditors as well, because we don't have a policy in place to guide us. And then the other thing is that with a policy in place, some grants ask you, do you have a policy that guides your departments in applying and monitoring and completing grants? So that's kind of what this is about. It's just recommended to us by MTask motion, so. Okay. Additional discussion?
I have a question. Is this a grant, is this a sample grant that we got from somewhere? That, because throughout this grant, it talks about the department receiving the grant, the department responsible for the grant, and, you know, in a large city, you've got a lot of departments.
Yeah,
We have
yeah.
a police department and a
Yeah,
fire
no,
department.
No, this is written specifically for town of Saltillo from MTask. And they use generically the departments because we are small and most all of it comes to the mayor's desk anyway, because I am the supervisor of the fire chief and police chief and the maintenance people. And so as we grow, then you can expand or change the policy. But it's kind of generically written to fit us.
Well, it seems that, you know, then you'd be responsible for every grant that goes out, so it's not, if I find a grant or she finds a grant or anything, then the baseline is you're going to follow all these procedures.
Ultimately, I have to sign
Right,
off
okay.
on any grant as it is. Ultimately,
Okay.
yeah. So the board approved, you know, the receipt of a grant currently, you know, like I said, if you get awarded a grant, the board approves the money. And then prior to that, I've already signed off and approved everything else to apply for it, because you have to do that up front. So that's what it does. I will be primarily responsible for all grants, and the CMFO would be taking care of all of the financial check records. Nobody has the ability to write a check
Right.
or receive money except for this office.
Right.
Okay, so that's kind of, but now
But
as
it
we
just
grow.
kind of takes some of the responsibility away, it seems, the way this is written, and I understand moving forward, that, the department is, got all those responsibilities
That's right,
to follow through, but we're not the department. You're the department.
that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct, yeah. So if the chief of police applies for a grant and receives it, I have communication with him to ensure that he is in compliance with completing the grant, receiving the money, closing the grant, and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, she has to receive money, and, you know, if we had to buy stuff, she has to pay for stuff, so that's what it is, yeah. Okay, any additional?
I think it could have, for our situation, be written a little differently, but
Okay, so, when we vote, you can vote to that degree of, you know. So we'll have a roll call vote. Alderman Reeves?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Alderman Maynard?
Yes.
Alderman Morgan?
yes.
Alderman Wood?
Yes.
Alderman Carter?
Yes.
All right, so we do have a grant policy now, and that will help us with audits and comptrollers and everybody else, okay? All right, thank you for that. All right, we'll move back up to the top of the agenda. Budget item 24-25 budget, ordinance 2024-01. You should have that in front of you. I'll present this to you tonight, and that you have received this in your packet for the opportunity to study this and review it. We will not be able to vote on this item tonight. This will be posted in the paper for 10 days. So what we will probably have to do tonight is have a motion to suspend our meeting before we're finished tonight. And we will post this budget ordinance in the paper, 2024-01, 10 days prior to the final passage of the budget. You should see that in the henceforth and the whereas. This is in your packet. I do want to address real quick on page 3, section 8. Page 3, section 8. This budget does not increase nor reduce the property tax rate. There is hereby levied a property tax of .5160 per 100. So you should see that in page, are y'all with me? I see your phone, okay, make sure you are. And then that's really the main thing there. On page 2 are all of the revenues and appropriation and expenditures that are broken down before you. So I can maybe address a couple of things if you have any questions about this ordinance, but we won't be able to vote on it tonight. It's got to be published in the newspaper or other outlets for 10 days prior to the vote. So for those of you that are here, you'll see it in the newspaper. You're welcome to take a look at it. And we'll see you whenever the next meeting occurs, and hopefully we'll settle that up here in a few minutes. Any questions on 2425? I know you probably looked at it. We did have a budget planning session that was published that most of you, I believe, were here, and we talked about a lot of things within our budget for revenues and expenditures. Any questions or takebacks or anything before this is published? Clarifications? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move that aside. The 24-25 budget, I would just tell you, you should see the ending fund balance of June 30th, $438,402, and then you should see the street aid and all those things included. One of the requirements of the posting the ordinance, we have to show last year's budget and our actual and the proposed budget. So that's why you see the 3 columns there. So that should be posted in the paper. Ms. Benita, when will we be posting this?
Next Wednesday in the fall.
Next Wednesday, okay. Next Wednesday in the fall. You should have a breakdown of all the general fund information there as well, and that comes from our budget planning sessions. I don't know if you have a question. It looks a lot different than what your budget planning sheet looked like, because we had to report it in a different way when we sent it to the state. So this looks a little bit more complicated than what I gave you to plan with. So, okay. No further questions on that. It'll be published, and we'll talk more about the next meeting a little later. Question?
I like this a lot better
No, do you?
than
Okay.
anything we've had.
Really? Okay. All right, so, yeah, it gives you, to me, when I'm planning and looking in comparison, the other one was a little bit easier for me, but we'll take that to heart as well, that it breaks down all the different departments, what your tax dollars go to, and we're not just saying property tax. Of course, we got a lot of other tax you see there, local taxes that are collected, state tax and beer tax and mixed drinks tax, and we get some taxes from the transit motor. Then we get property tax, and of course, there are a lot of other revenues in there. And then expenses are breakdown into administration, police department, fire department, senior center, community, that all will be in the paper. So everybody be able to look at that, and go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and we'll talk about it more later on. Okay, let's move on to the next item real quick. 23-24 amended budget, ordinance 2024-02. You should have that in front of you as well. And of course, the same thing on this one. We cannot vote on a budget amendment without it being published in the paper. And of course, all the whereas that you see there, it states in this ordinance that it must be published for 10 days prior to the meeting before we vote on it for the final. And that is presented to you. And just to clarify, y'all been through this a bunch of times. When you have unexpected revenues and unexpected expenditures, you have to do a budget amendment. Looking back into the history of the town of Saltillo, it was a very common practice not monthly, but more than once a year that we did budget amendments. And so for the last 2 years, we've only done a budget amendment, I believe, once a year. Is that correct? Once a year. So we've been pretty good about staying on track with our revenues and expenditures. But this year, of course, we've had a grant that came in for the fire department. And then we had a lot of emergency expenses on the accident that occurred down at the end of the Main Street. So we have to do a budget amendment. That too will be published in the paper, and you should be able to see that. It's a little different in there, the way it has to be reported. And of course, it has all the different sections in it. As Section 6, in this case, property tax does not get changed in the middle of the year, so it's the same property tax rate. It'll just be an amended budget, and we have to show why we have that amended, and that is a state requirement. Any questions with that? You'll be able to look at it, talk about it. If you don't see any errors, anything with that you think of or that you notice, we'll have to vote on that a couple of weeks from now. We'll come back to that in just a minute. All right. Recommendation for fire department equipment bids. So as you know, we had a grant that came in for the fire department, and we submitted a bid package to the public, and we actually had 2 companies responded. This bid was split in what we were going to do with $108,000, and I can't remember the total of that. $108,000.
$108,060.
So one company that they submitted a bid for is the Air Pack SCBA. I thought I was going to say it wrong, right? SCBA. And that was the only company that responded. Their bid is $64,238, and that is for 7 SCBAs, 12 snap chain cylinders, 6 vision face pieces, and 1 just like specticide kit, I guess, to clean them off and whatnot. Is that right?
No,
Right.
a spectacle kit for
Okay,
lenses.
spectacle, okay.
Correct.
Oh, somebody wears glasses, the firefighter, I got you. Okay, so, the SCBA bid, I would, recommend a motion to approve that bid. They were the only one that submitted the bid.
I make a motion we approve that.
Okay, good motion by Alderman Maynard.
My name's Wood.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, Alderman Wood. Okay.
I'm gonna keep your
My
record.
bad, my mind was somewhere else. Alderman Wood. I've been called a lot worse, don't know when to get to you.
I didn't
Yeah.
call you anything. I'll second.
Second on Alderman Morgan. Thank you, roll call, Morgan. Any discussion about that specific bid?
So what else you gonna do with the rest of the money? Is the rest of the money come, I mean,
It's
Well,
100
hold on a second.
Okay.
That's not what we can entertain.
Okay.
This particular bid, tell us why you needed these pieces of equipment that we just approved. Or
in
that,
According to the contract of the grant, they specify what equipment you can buy in the approval process. So we got approved to buy SCBA and turnout gear head to toe.
Yeah.
So it has to 100% be spent on those items and those items alone.
Yeah. And then the reason for the SCBA's, we just got a grant through the county to get a few of them, but we have to have additional for what reason?
This is to maintain interoperability and to make sure that they're all the same and to replace all the outdated ones that do not any longer pass.
Yeah, and we have had a bunch out there. That's why the county helped us piggyback. So there are some requirements through our ISO rating, right, to have
ISO
certain
and
equipment.
NFPA.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that had a second on the table. We'll do a roll call vote to approve. Alderman Maynard,
yes.
Alderman Morgan,
Yes.
Alderman Wood,
Yes.
Alderman Carter,
Yes.
Alderman Reed. Okay, so that bid has been accepted. All right, the second bid was for turnout gear, and I've been talking to Chief Bruce for quite a while about our turnout gear because it's like 20 years old, and we really
22.
need to replace that. Isn't that right? Something about 20 years old?
At 10 years, it becomes no longer acceptable to be used for training
Yeah.
for fire.
So we had two companies respond to that. AERT responded to that, and it looks like their bid was a $35,684.50 for the turnout gear. And MES was $45,990. So I would recommend a motion to approve AERT at $35,684.50 at the low bid.
That's so weird.
Moved by Alderman Carter,
And a second.
and that was Alderman Wood. Got it right, Secretary?
Right.
Okay. Any discussion?
How many turnout gears that?
Turnout gear is 10 sets, is that?
10 sets.
Yeah, 10 sets. And it comes, I don't know, you wanna tell them what's all in the turnout gear?
Helmet, hood, pair of gloves, pair of boots, pants, and coat.
Okay, any additional questions on that? Okay, all right, we'll have a roll call vote on that. Approval of AERT at $35,684.50. Alderman Morgan,
Yes.
Alderman Wood,
Yes.
Alderman Carter,
Yes.
Alderman Reed,
Yes, sir.
Alderman Mayor.
Yes.
Okay, those bids are approved. You can go ahead and communicate with them that their bid was approved, and we'll do some other paperwork on that as we move forward. We did have a public hearing, when we opened these bids, when was it, on the,
28th.
28th? And so we have, a lot of stuff you gotta do officially through that. Okay, so those bids are approved.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
What we just approved was $99,922 plus
Yeah.
odd cents.
Yeah.
The grant was for $108,000.
The remainder of that will be used to pay for the shipping costs, which they don't know until they ship it.
Okay.
And to fulfill the contract as per the grant, we will be using 100% of that money to purchase more additional equipment in line with the
Which
stuff
what the
that's on
grant
there.
said.
Yeah, great question. We don't plan to send any money back. We plan to use 100%, and there are some specifics within the grant that was applied for, that what we have to do with it, and that we can't buy things outside of what that grant stipulates. So if
That's
we got
about a
enough money to buy.
$10,000 difference. That's about a $10,000 difference.
Between the
So-
two companies.
Yeah, well, between the 99,922 and 108,600.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And that's a lot of money to leave on the table or
Yeah,
to return, like you said.
That's right, yeah. I appreciate you bringing that up. That is a very good point, certainly. But like I said, we plan to spend every nickel of it in helping the fire department, okay? All right, any additional on that? We'll move right ahead. Let's see, I think we got all those right, yeah, pulled that on, okay. Mayor's report. One of the things that I want to do tonight is make a recommendation on the Parks Commission Chairman and Advisory Board. Basically, the chairman of the advisory board for Parks Commission. That is something that was identified in our system-wide parks plan. And I haven't talked to Alderman Reeves about it, but I would recommend you take that advisory board position. I was dealing with parks when I was vice mayor. You're the vice mayor, and we got a lot of big stuff happening in the parks right now. And we need somebody, and preferably somebody that's gonna continue in the path, either as a mayor or as an alderman, to work through this project, because this is a big thing. So I don't know if you'll take that recommendation from me.
Well,
Okay, so he has agreed to be the Parks Advisory Chair. Is there, I say, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, you got it, Alderman Reeves, Vice Mayor Reeves. So this will be a great thing to work with for our community. What we'll need to do is develop a committee to help kind of steer us not only in the grant that we're trying to work on right now, but any future park development, which includes, Lincoln, Saltillo Community Center, and we have a lease now with the boat ramp, so that is kind of quasi-included. It's not really officially a park, but we treat it kind of like a park. So, okay, all right, appreciate you taking that. That'll be a good thing. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, what's all going on with that. But trying to find some key people. I noticed some people that have mentioned, hey, I want to do that. We got a whole host of people that have participated in the brainstorming groups that we did, so we can probably pull some out of that too. So I'd say, you know, anywhere from 5 to 7 probably is all you need to get started with. And so and we got Alderman Morgan on the downtown chair, so that'd be great. Okay. Any additional questions about that? Okay. All right, good. We'll move right on. There was, I told you I was going to bring something back up from the minutes, and I did not put this on the agenda today. I just overlooked it and neglected it. But in the minutes that Alderman Maynard brought up last meeting about some repairs to the boat dock, I have talked to her since that meeting, and there's some things that we discussed. So I don't know, do you want to say anything additional about that item?
Just that, my husband did work on it some, we didn't replace anything, but the water's been high. It's just been a factor of keeping trash off of it and everything else, and until really it goes down and we can get a better feel of what's underneath it, then right now, I think we just need to, I mean, we'll keep watching it, but
Okay. All right.
just,
So when we get to a point to having to do some repairs, of course,
Right.
we'll try to bring it to the board. If
Right.
it's not too much, just you and I can kind of handle it. Or actually Alderman Reeves needs to be involved because he's now the advisory, he's the chairman of the advisory committee. So
Right.
we'll all be reporting kind of to him about those kind of things.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
That's
All right,
fine.
so, all right, sounds good. So we'll all talk and make it better for the community and our visitors as well. Coming up June the 10th at 3:30, I have a meeting scheduled with Isa Reb, and I request that Alderman join us in this meeting. If you can't be here, I get it. She wasn't sure if she wanted to meet with me by myself or everyone. I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Anyone in the community that wants to come, you're welcome to come June 10th at 3:30. Isa Reeb is from West Tennessee Planning, and in conjunction with Tennessee Tech and the Tennessee Center for Rural Innovation, that Blue Oval, as we all been hearing about for months and months, we may seem like we're far removed, but Blue Oval has invested in the West Tennessee region. So through West Tennessee Planning, we have an opportunity to take on Isa Reeb at no cost to the city. It's all provided through a grant program in West Tennessee Planning and Tennessee Tech, and she will be kind of like a quasi-employee to help us on a lot of things that we're looking at. Give you an example with the innovation and things that we have. Our website, we started that a few years ago, and Ms. Vanita's done an awesome job trying to get that going and getting things posted and using it. They're going to take that website and look at it and see if we can bring it up to another level at some point. So they'll be helping us with that. There's about 8 or 9 Facebook pages in Saltillo that say they're the Saltillo Facebook page. I have one as Saltillo Mayor. They're going to help us with that social media aspect of it to maybe we can communicate a little bit better with the public. They'll also be looking with us. I've talked to them about helping us in our community to develop a strategic plan. The water department and the city have really never gotten in the same room and talked together about anything that I know of. The 2 fire departments, the county and the city fire department, hadn't really talked about things. We've got police departments, so what we hope to do is bring in all the people that help us in our community together to talk about where we are as a city and what our future should be or should look like, and how we can make this place better for people to live in, to visit, people to retire and move here, how to increase your property value, and how to improve all of our services. So there's a lot of things on the table with this, and this meeting on June the 10th is just kind of a preliminary meeting to talk about what you think the needs are. Some of the things about some of our dilapidated properties, some of our properties that may be opportunities for developers to come in to take those over and, you know, put a business in. So all of those things with West Tennessee Planning and Tennessee Tech are on the table for discussion. So anyway, it's going to be an interesting time for us, and it's a great opportunity because it doesn't cost us any money, and we're going to get a lot of services. So we'll still use Southwest Development, we'll still use MTask, and we'll now be partnering with the Tennessee Tech, and they're doing a similar thing in Wayne County and Waynesboro and all that. So any questions about any of that? If you can be here, great. If not, it's just kind of a meet and greet, discuss about where we are and what we have, and we'll probably ride around town, show around a little bit. never been to Saltillo, so, okay. No question? All right, we'll move right on. You should have in your packet, I want to give an accolades to Chief Graves, talking about grants and administration of grants. Yes, the GHSO grant is an important grant to us. In the past years, we've received $5,000 per year. He's administered all of that. In the coming year, we're going to get $10,000 grant already approved for this, and the bottom line is that the Department of Homeland Security and all those involved in that identified no issues of non-compliance during the on-site review. So accolades to Chief Graves for completing the grant and closing it out appropriately with no hiccups or anything like that. So I'll put that on there. I had Don Robinson call me a little while ago. Many of you may know that former Mayor Darnell Lowry is now on the election commission. However, Don Robinson is one of our key people in our community that has been working with the election commission as far as volunteering and make sure voting precincts are there and helping with that discussion. He received his letter that says he will be supporting the election process in Saltillo. So they have pretty much guaranteed me that that precinct will be open. We've got to have people to work that precinct. Don Robinson be one of them. He received his letter. I don't know if anybody else has received. Ms. May, you got a letter? Thank God. Everyone's getting a letter now. For your voting card, we haven't seen that come in yet, so that should be coming in the mail at some point. So we plan to have that site there. And of course, Ms. May helps us lock things up and unlock things. She has the key where they come early in the morning and help take care of that. So at the storm shelter where the precinct will be. So another election information, of course, the election packets can be picked up on June 17th. That's the first day. If you're going to run for mayor, you're going to run for alderman, the packets can be picked up, and you can go to the election commission site and see when it's got to be turned in and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, if you're not faint of heart and you got thick skin, this job is for you, okay? June 17th, so,
Thick
you know.
skin is a real important thing.
Yeah, yeah.
With that.
Yeah, so, you know, you take an oath of office, you know, to make decisions based on what is best for Saltillo and the community that you serve, and your friends don't always agree with that, so just keep that in
Everybody
mind.
loves you.
Okay.
Deadline's August 15th to get them submitted.
Deadline is when?
August 15th.
August 15th, all right.
So from
Look for you
June
joining the
to
race.
June to August?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Okay, all right, so in another matter that I do need to present to the board, in dealing with grants, that I have contacted the comptroller's office in regards to the fire department grant that we just received. Of course, anybody that has a question, fraud, waste, abuse, anything like that, they can call that number, 800 number, they will investigate. But the reason for my call was we had some missteps early on in the administration of the fire department grant. So I called them to come and look at what we've done thus far to ensure that myself and Chief Bruce have not made any drastic missteps in the preliminary aspects of the grant. And so there are some things that you have to follow, and our policy for purchasing has to be followed to the T. And like I mentioned earlier, that I am ultimately the supervisor of both he and Chief and everybody else in town. So it's got to report to me. And so the grants are very specific, and to make sure that we are still in line. We're still going through with the grant. There's no problem there. But we want to make sure that we haven't caused ourselves an audit issue, and we don't think we have. But that's another reason for implementing this policy, so that now we have got it in black and white. But I think we're in good shape. But you may see or hear comptrollers in town, and it's they're going to help us to look at what we've done thus far, where we can move forward and do everything the correct way and in a timely manner. So Chiefs have worked real hard to kind of, you know, get some guys involved, and ladies, men and women, involved in the fire department, finding grants and stepping it up a notch. And we had a couple of missteps, and we're just trying to make sure we didn't mess up too bad. So I think that's pretty much it on that. Okay, any questions about that? Our position is, we don't want to do anything to hinder the progress of the fire department, but we sure don't want to break any laws or do anything we shouldn't do. So just, as a school principal, when dealing with federal grants, there's another level of scrutiny, such as the school. There's some federal money tied into that school property, and things people say around town about what you should do or not do. When it's federal dollars, you can't touch some of that stuff. So you have to be very careful. And when we, want to just do things, we got to make sure we get everything. What they say, dot your I's, cross your T's. So that's kind of what we're trying to seek some help on. All right. I think that was pretty much it on that. All right. Financial report. You should have that. And this is this month's current financial report. You should have account balances in front of you, and they are for, the fire, parks, and everything else. You notice that it looks like we've got a fair amount of money, $411,475. $411,475.68. That includes $108,600.
$108,060.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. So now the fire department has quite a big budget. We're gonna spend it like Christmas time. Okay. We got equipment to spend and coming in, so we got to get that taken care of. We got a year actually to close this grant out. I think that's what it was. Yeah. Something like that.
March 1st.
March 1st, okay, not quite a year. All right, so we'll start taking care of that, but anyway. And we do have that purchasing policy we had to go through with. We just approved the bid. It's just a lot of stuff to do, okay? All right, so your revenue statement, revenues and expenditures for this month. I didn't really have too many anomalies in this month that I need to discuss or explain, I don't think. If you look at, I believe it's the last page there. The
Can I
current,
ask a question
Sure,
about
sure.
it?
yeah,
Okay, so, Stephen got the $10,000 grant for the next year. Was it 5,000 that we have on here? For,
Yes.
it was
Yes.
5,000, so it increased
Yeah.
$5,000 more dollars, is
yeah,
that right?
it will increase additional 5,000 next year.
Okay, is that on the budget stuff that we got?
Yes,
Okay,
that's all included. That's why we've got to submit this budget with that grant included. And so the difference is the budget amendment, the grant the fire department applied for, it came in a lot sooner than we really expected it to. It came in this fiscal year, not like the GSO grant. It'll come in the next fiscal year. So that's kind of a screwy thing. All right, so current actual, we did spend a little bit more money than we brought in this month. And you'll see that there, about $4,800. And it's just a matter of expenses that we have and revenue that was under projected. But we're still for the year in good shape. If you look year-to-date actual, some months just like your own personal finance. Some months you're gonna have a good one, and some months you're gonna have to pay some extra bill to fix your air conditioner, whatever you gotta do. But we are, as far as year-to-date, in good shape with, in the black, I guess some of you would say that we haven't spent more than we have. So, you have any questions on the financial report? The question that you did have, a good question, certainly. Just speaking of the fiscal budget report, in this month, you should see there was a donation from Hardin County government through the Tennessee River Resort Board. They gave us $2,000 for the fireworks show. We had talked early on, we budgeted quite a bit of money for the fireworks show this year to match that, what we received from the county. So we're talking to Mr. Finley, he's gonna help us with that fireworks show, along with Chief Bruce, that Mr. Finley said he can do it for, around $3,500 somewhere. I think that's what you said. I believe that somewhere in that neighborhood. There may be some other expenses. The cost of fireworks have gone up just like everything else, but we should have the expenditure report will be in next year's budget. and the revenue was in this current month. So it'll kind of look funny to you, but because after July, we'll show that expenditure in the new budget. So we've done that for you as well. And we've trimmed down a little bit. You know, we initially said like $7,000 for fireworks. After talking with him and having our budget planning session, we narrowed that down to, I think, like 4,800, and we're probably not gonna spend all that, but we want to have a buffer in there, okay?
Can I ask Jameson a question?
I'll allow it, go ahead.
How is it gonna be done, from the river up above, barge?
I've got a pontoon boat.
You're gonna do it off your pontoon boat?
Out
The
in
plan
water,
is-
on the other
I
Plan
side.
mean,
is on the other
because
side of
people
the
are
river.
really kinda asking about it, and so I,
The plan is right now across the river.
at the,
Yeah, we got a couple other things to check on, but ultimately, it will be, landing parking only, no fireworks on the property, on the landing. We'll do it across the river. We've already been approved by the TWRA for monitoring and boat traffic. They'll help us police the boats that'll be out in the water. And then we have a pending permit from the Coast Guard, which they called me and said everything was good, but on the computer, it still shows pending. So Chief Graves will follow that up for me with his supervisor just to see, hey, where we are. But we're 100% sure that they are gonna stop barge traffic from 9 to about 9:45. That's why we had to have a Coast Guard permit, and that's some things that went on in previous years, in addition to last year, that if you don't submit this Coast Guard permit almost 6 months in advance, they're not gonna approve it. And if you got boats out there and the traffic gets stopped at night, you're looking for a tragedy. So this way we are protecting the spectators and citizens and visitors alike. So, but great question regarding the fireworks. That I think we're on schedule. You're free to post it out there on one of the 8 fireworks. I mean, one of the 8 Saltillo sites, and you know that's I think Jameson he's done this, did a great show last year, and going to be even better this year. And we got a few more bells and whistles, I think, with the approvals that we've got. So, okay. Any additional on that? Okay. I don't know how we got back to that. I think we just talked about financial report. Any additional on finance report? Okay, all right. Alderman reports. Any alderman have anything?
wait a minute. I don't think I do.
All right. Department reports. Last month, I cut Chief Bruce off. Didn't even give him his props on his fundraising efforts, so I think he wants to share with you about some recent activities.
I didn't write them down because I thought you were gonna cut me off again.
All right.
But on that note, fundraising it's not easy, but luckily, just about every time we try and have a fundraiser this year, we get rain or something like that, and we still pull through, and everything's been going reasonably decent. So I gotta give the members more props, and I just come up with the ideas and tell them when to show up and make sure they're still busy, and that's how they go. But I want to thank everybody that comes out and supports us and stuff like that, gives donations and all that stuff.
Oh, I did have something, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh,
Hold on a second.
Okay. All right, I'm
Let-
gonna
let-
give him, yeah.
I cut him off once. He don't even go.
Eh?
You get one more.
Okay.
For the month of May, we had 5 emergency calls. We had 2 new members in the department, and the catfish tournament was pretty good. You know, the weather was horrendous, but the folks that came out to do the tournament, instead of the prize money, they donated it back. So they'd rather see us get a boat and some other things. So we really appreciate that. And for anyone that's interested that would like to volunteer their time or find out what we're all about or join the organization, we have a 16-hour intro to fire and emergency services class this Saturday and Sunday, the 8th and 9th. Anyone is free to attend that wants to join or wants to just hang out, and it's 100% free. We're going to start doing a whole lot more training and classes in-house now that I'm certified through the state, through all 3 major organizations, TFACA, TNRs and the TN, the EMS organization, we'll call it. So we're going to be putting on a whole lot more classes. It'll be open to more than just us, but all of our neighboring departments. So the more we can do, the better. But it is gonna come with some slight cost because we do have to get training materials such as books and stuff like that, but the majority of the classes are free. So, that's all I have.
Okay, all right, Alderman Maynard, back to you. You had a.
Yeah, July 27th, Saturday, July 27th, we'll be doing the River Poker Run. Stewart has started many years ago.
Yeah.
Will be Saturday the 27th. There is some info out, on some of the, sites, so anyway, just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and just to clarify, in case people want to know, the town of Saltillo is not putting on the poker run. That's a private group that puts on the poker run, but they do in turn make a donation to help support the activities on the river and keep things nice down there. So Saltillo has no money invested in the poker run this year. We're not, it's a private organization. So those that wanna participate, those that don't. But the city, we're not putting it on. However, Alderman Maynard, yes, she is helping with that activity as well as many other people will. So, but it's a great activity. It's a lot of fun for a lot of people, and they in turn give a little money back to the city to help the infrastructure at the river, not everywhere else. So, Alderman Reed, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go, because that money, we keep a record of who gives donations, like in your report, so we know what goes to the river and what goes to the park, that kind of stuff. But it's another activity. And of course, River Day stuff coming up. There'll be other activities and things, and people that, fundraisers and grants. That's how we've survived for years and years. And we're still trying to survive to some degree on that, because what revenue we have, like I said, is limited, even with the property tax. All right, so additional department report, Ms. May, you got anything? Senior Center, not here? Okay, all right. What about maintenance?
No.
Okay, what about the school board? What's going on? School's out.
Yes,
Yeah.
but we're looking for teachers, principal, and coaches.
Right. And I think you're gonna be on the ballot in August, or you already?
Yes, I
Yeah.
made it.
Okay. Any other school board representatives gonna be on the ballot? Any other county election officials here gonna be on the ballot? I guess so. Hope to see some of y'all in the mayor and alderman seats come on the ballot. So look forward to the competition and the fun. So, okay. All right. Any additional? Yes,
I have an announcement.
sure.
We have a pickleball court. It's open to everyone. We're gonna meet, so we would meet people that still work, on Sunday evenings at 6 o'clock. And it's behind the school, and it's not finished painted. The white lines are all painted, but the kitchen's not painted yet, etc. But it's open to everyone. So if you would like to come to that, we had a lot of fun the other day.
What time?
6 p.m. on Sunday.
Oh, you
We didn't
still-
want to make it on a Saturday because people are busy with family and thing, but so that we can have people that work.
You still had it? It got rained out. I thought it got.
No, the other one before that.
Oh, okay.
It was a meeting just to work on the park. Yeah.
Oh,
But no, we
okay.
got it all, we got that all painted, and the
Good
maintenance
job.
guys, did their part, and so
Right on.
we had one fatality, as Rhonda called it. One of the players, was on a professional kind of tennis team in years past. So when she went after the ball, she forgot she was 60-something years old, and she just done a dive and just hit the ground flat. So she scratched her eye, it took her breath away. But anyway, she said, I used to be able to do that. But anyway, it's a lot. The court, you're just playing them 10 feet wide and 15 feet deep.
Well, just like Alderman Wood said, we did this, that again, community members coming together for a project that the city could help a little bit. We couldn't do it all, but we could do some. And so in our small community, that's what it takes, people to come together to do a project. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, we want to do a community garden. And I say, okay, get your group together and nothing ever happened. So, I'm glad that the pickleball was one thing that actually come together that we're doing, and we did buy a little equipment for it, part of our overall parks plan. Speaking of that, the system-wide park plan is posted on our website. So if you want to be on the advisory committee, they can look at that. All the research and all the study and all the recommendations are there for you to read. But, coming together with a project, hey, if you got an idea that makes our community better and healthier community, come see me. That it takes a little everyone. That don't count on just the people on this board to make it all happen. It takes everybody, and the same way in church. Same way. So, okay. Any additional department reports? I believe that's going to be it. What I would recommend, not an adjournment, I would recommend that we suspend this meeting until 6 p.m. on June 25th to vote.
We have a building and planning committee meeting at 6 o'clock on the 25th.
That's probably not going to meet at 6 o'clock.
Well, I'm just telling you that.
It's probably going to meet at 6:30 or something. So we got to get this budget passed before July 1st. Well, actually before the June 30th.
I'm down with it, Dave, but I'm just saying,
Okay.
I got it on.
I got you. All right. Well, those of you on the planning commission, y'all might get an email that says we are changing the time. So,
6 o'clock, no for our meeting.
I would recommend suspending this meeting until June 25th at 6 p.m. Other than Alderman Maynard, anybody else have maybe a potential conflict I need to know about that I think we can do that?
I won't be here the 25th.
You want to- okay.
I'll be in
Anybody?
California.
Recommendation to suspend this meeting.
I recommend.
Recommended by Alderman Reeves. Second, Alderman Carter. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, not hearing none. Meeting has been formally suspended. Appreciate y'all coming. We'll see you around town.